with Jeff Wickman in the room, I would say, you should have it in some of your classrooms, especially if you're watching teachers teach, because you get good sound, not what you usually have from the back of your room. Like if you put your tablet in the back of the room and just said record, you'll get what you get. Hey, I want to just show my screen on your screen. The reason you're here, I think, is to use your pen more efficiently. I had originally thought that my focus would be writing on PDFs, and we are definitely going to talk about it, but the more I played last night, the more I really liked other things as well. So we're going to go a bunch of different places today. I'm sure something will connect with you, at least to the point where you're going to tinker with it tonight, and somebody's going to show off to your wife, husband, or kids tonight. That's my goal. Not all of you. Some of you maybe are still going to put this in your office and never use it for 3 years. But everything I'm going to do, I'm going to show wirelessly over there. The first place that we're going to go is we're going to configure your pen. Has anybody changed what your pen does yet?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to lead you through a little bit with it. I'm going to assume I can go moderately faster just for the sake of time. In order to get to your pen, I just type in the word Surface on the bottom. Surface opens up an app called Surface. And front screen, once again, is just kind of like an advertisement. The middle icon is the pen. I don't really know what sensitivity means. More sensitive means what? Press harder or lighter. Try one way, go the other. But anyways, on my device, you can see I've changed the default, at least the first one. In order to change what opens automatically on your machine, you can basically tell it that I want single click to be this, 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 or this. So you can make it be that it's disabled, that I don't want clicking on here to mean anything. For some of you, that's a good choice. For others of you, launching a store app is the Windows Store app. So if you play around with things like I want Facebook as an app on my device, one click would take you to Facebook customized for your device. One click takes you to LinkedIn or whatever it is that you like to have there. Just so I can show you how I did Chrome, I picked Launch a Desktop app, and when I clicked on plus, right next to this, I have to know how to get to that app in the Windows folder structure. So if I speak gibberish in just a minute, I apologize, but for me, I knew that all of my program files that are on this computer are in the C drive. All the programs that are on your computer are either in Program Files or Program Files x86. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. It just has to do with, is it a more advanced program or a less advanced program. So I tried one and then looked in the other. When I scroll through this list, I can see various programs that are installed on my computer. Like, for example, I've already installed Audacity because I teach with it. I've already installed Chrome. It was in the Google file. Then I clicked on Chrome, and then I clicked on Application. For almost every application that you're looking for, you're going to know you're right when you see the little icon. And if I scrolled over, it will say Application. It might kick an error at you like, that's not an application. But once again, from this screen, I changed it to, I don't want the default. I want my own desktop application. I clicked on the plus symbol, and I found the application that I wanted in the C drive applications and went from there. Question. So once again, when I click on a pen, mine opens up my version of Chrome. Here's my 10-second advertisement again. I love my setup of Chrome. I love every ad blocked. I love the things that I have open already. I love the fact that I am the weakest link. I'm not the weakest link, but one of the weakest links in the security chain because I'm one click away from Portal logged in. I'm one click away from Moodle logged in. I'm one click away from checking on how Steph Curry did last night and then shutting it down. You get the idea. My family's website. And I've set that all up ahead of time. I also like having some of this set up here. This isn't going to be a huge advertisement for, I know it's shutting down, it's fine. But there's other places like University of Minnesota's Moodle. That's a weird website. I don't like remembering where it is, so I throw some of those things in my bookmarks. Enough about Chrome. Okay. Why you're here is to use your pen in a variety of different ways. The first one is going to be one that I'm not sure you expected. I'd like you to take your pen and not click anywhere, but just hover above your screen. So if you look at my screen over here, I'm not actually touching my screen, I'm just hovering above it. And wherever you hover, it's going to change what it does. Now, why I think that's important is if I have some sort of application open and I'm screencasting or talking about it, there's times where I want to highlight something, but I don't really want it clicked. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, for example, I'm talking about this part of, I should have something up here that actually is something. I'm talking about a website and I want to record myself. If I want to talk about this picture that's here, I can use my pen without touching it and talk at the same time. I'd like you to look at this picture right here. I can still click on it if I want, but I can also hover. So your pen not only acts like your finger, it can sense your screen from, I don't know, 2 inches or less away. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay, so I'd like you to use your pen and just click a couple places. I know a couple of you did that. For some of you, you don't have accurate fingers. Your pen is more accurate at clicking places. If you're one of those that's going to use this while you're teaching, it will be a very accurate way to open up various things that you're looking for. You can double click with your pen, you can highlight with your pen or do other things with it. To me, the importance was hovering and clicking. For some of you, that might be worth keeping it there. For others of you, maybe not. But once again, even if I'm in a program like Smart Notebook, I can hover and I can click. Some programs, like you had to pay to get the hover feature, well, you can now do it on every program everywhere with it. Well, last night I was blown away with Microsoft things. I'll admit, I'm not a Microsoft lover, but this machine is built for some really cool things on Microsoft. So I'm going to take you through each of the big 3 Microsoft programs. So the first one I'd like you to open up is Word. You can go your way or go my way, but I would just go down to the search bar, type in Word, and hit Enter. If you want to open up a Word document that you actually have, that's fine. So Faculty Processional, that looks great. So you got this file from Michelle Gartner, you tried to open it up in Chrome and it was all jumbled, and then you had to open it up in Word and it looks really great. But anyways, here's my document. If you're using Word to teach in class, you can still scroll like you normally can. You can still zoom with your fingers. I'm just panning and stuff like that. But what I want you to see with your pen is if you live in the Word environment, there's some really cool features underneath Review. So I'm going to click on Review on the top of your screen. Some of you only go here to find the spell check. Maybe you don't even go here anymore because spell check happens automatically. But anyways, the place that's really neat is in the upper right where it says Start Inking. Once again, I'm clicking up here. And Start Inking is giving you the ability to use this pen. So right now, all I'm doing is I'm going to write on that document. I can make it be as thin or as thick as I want. I can make it be whatever color that I want. And if you've seen the commercials with the artist, try it. Like, press harder and press lighter. The lighter you press, the thinner it is. The harder you press, the thicker it is. So
where was the color?
It was in the middle, right underneath the word pen. And pick a color you want. Same thing with highlighter right next to it. By default, it's going to give you a yellow highlighter. The thickness of your pen, you can take I'm just changing the thickness. You can make the highlighter be something that's very, very thin. I don't know, maybe you want a really thin pen or a really thick highlighter or a really thin highlighter. I think you should just keep playing. Al, ask a question. You give me this look like I'm speaking a...
Well,
Oh.
I'm not, I
Oh.
don't get the pen, so,
Oh, your pen isn't connected?
no. So I'm trying to work through that, don't worry about it.
What?
Keep going.
Yeah, that's...
How do you get the menu from?
Yeah, good question. So how did I get the menu? When you clicked on ink, let's say you were here, your screen might look something like this. Right? In order to get there, I just clicked on review on the upper corner, and the way the new words work are, it's going to open up and guess that you want ink tools.
What I meant was, how do you keep the color menu from disappearing as soon as you start using it?
I don't think you can.
Oh,
Okay, I'm going to show you one more thing with it, and this is obviously talking to my eraser. You get the idea how those types of things work. It even has the ability that you can ink to math, and I know I'm speaking to myself, but science people or whatever, where I can type, like one of the hardest parts is you have to use your equation editor and type in different things. You can actually write equations, and it will know what you're looking for. Keith,
In answer to your question, who was that, Paul?
somebody asked about color. Yes.
You go up, you see in the upper right,
Yep.
next to the cross out, that one right there. If you put down show tab, it should stay there. No, it didn't. The bottom one, show tab information.
Right. I think his question was just he wants to keep colors open at all times.
Yeah, right, doesn't that do it?
So I pick something like this. It's a different color. His question is he wants to have this stay open.
Yeah, it seems to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I think you have to
Coloring,
That's right.
Right, you just turn off the auto hide.
I don't know what you just said. Sorry.
Or on that command.
Yep.
Yeah, you see it says auto hide ribbon.
Right.
If you just choose the bottom one,
Right.
then it should stay open.
Right. This menu will stay open.
Right.
Yeah, whatever. We're talking in circles here. So various options, various things that you can do with it. This is an option for notes or feedback if you live in the Word environment. Now you have to think, does this apply to you? Maybe. Have you switched to Google Docs? You have to think, if you're putting notes on here, I think this began in Word 2013. So students would have to have that to see it as colorful as you want. However, I think you should think about good practice that you're in Word. If you're giving feedback back, you can always save as and save it as a PDF and send it back to them. Now, I'm not sold yet. I just wanted you to see that this exists. Go ahead. I'm not sold with the Microsoft way of doing things that I have to live in a save as environment. Now, this is way better bells and whistles than anything on Chrome. But is it worth the revision and which version of which file is where? You have to answer that question yourself. If students are turning in research papers, it's an option with Word. If you already have Word documents that are sent to you, you can take notes on them. The last thing you should remember is you're changing the actual document. So clicking save will put the ink notes right onto your document. So think about, do I want to do this version or do I want to save as copy with a different date and stuff like that? I think most of you give me the nod like, I get that.
So is that Microsoft all in the cloud now for us? Like Chrome is, like Google Docs are, or is there still that advantage with Google Docs that
Microsoft thinks that they're in the cloud right now, and there are ways to collaborate on desktop documents, but I don't think they've got it figured out yet. I'm biased towards the Google side, but there are ways to accomplish what you just said. Okay, let's go to different programs. So I'd like you to open up PowerPoint. There's lots of ways to do it. Some of you have a bunch of PowerPoints. You've taught from PowerPoints. You've already created them. They're already there. The same options that you had with Word, you do have in PowerPoint. I think this is more valuable for some of you that present off of PowerPoint that you can write on your presentations. Once again, you have some presentation that's going, if you want to write on it while you teach, it's just start inking, and then you may have to click on pens and other things like that. All of the stuff like pen, eraser, and other things like that are the same. There's a couple new things that are in PowerPoint that weren't in Word, or I shouldn't say new, different things. So if you want to try something, I just clicked on the convert to shapes. If you wanted to circle or highlight something in a different way, convert to shapes means everything that you are drawing is going to convert into the shape that it's most like. Parallelograms, rectangles, squares. I'm not saying all of you are doing that tomorrow. But once again, if I convert to shapes, when I'm doing various things, some of them will work and some of them will work differently than you might expect. But notice as I'm writing on my screen, I'm not always careful as a teacher. I just want you to have this thing highlighted. My initial circle is kind of sloppy, but by converting to shapes, it will look a little bit cleaner in my presentation. If I go back to pens, you know or have played around with the things on the left, Lasso Select is that it will select everything inside the area that you highlight. So lasso is just basically saying you're creating a lasso, and if you had objects in that area, they'd be selected. So for example, maybe you have a picture, and you have some text, and you have a title, and you have animations. Lasso Select is a way that you don't have to hold the control button and click on various places. You can just select by using your pen. Jeff, you got this question on your face. Go.
Why would I be selecting something like that? Is it like a copy feature?
It can be.
As I'm using it right now,
You can move it, enlarge it, whatever. If you wanted to format it.
So let's just pull up this. Let's see if I'm practicing what I preach. So here's something we have for teaching with tech, design principles, and stuff like that. Lasso Select. It's like, I want more than one. I actually don't know how this is set up. You're not getting the things that I said you would?
well, just what happens is
It's not selecting what you want? Okay. I haven't played around with it enough to know if I just told a half or lie, half truth or lie. If you don't like it, if it doesn't work the way it is, you can obviously select. You can hold the control button and do other things with it.
Did that used to be the select feature where you could drag and drop like a perimeter and then put all those objects together in Google?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. So I wanted to show you PowerPoint because some of you already have PowerPoints and you've thought about, is that the way I want to keep them, and is this valuable, and do I want to write on it? And if you are somebody who's presenting, I'll just go back. Presenting from a PowerPoint uses no internet if you're going wireless, and you can asynchronously do this in real time where what you're writing will show up for various spots. Now, if you're saying, okay, how am I going to present? You have to decide, if you have to have the full screen, and this is my venturing in unknown territory, if I'm taking and just writing on my pen in presentation mode, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to advance my slide like this is clicking. So if you have to have the full screen, what I just talked about is not going to apply. If you want the speaker notes and other stuff, right now I'm not writing on it. However, on my screen, I have this little pen on the bottom corner. So I'm just opening, I have a PowerPoint going, I can't show you both. But I have this pen on the bottom corner that does give me the ability to highlight what I'm looking for. It does give me the ability to laser point into whatever I'm looking to do. It does give me the ability to, I want to do a different kind of pen, to highlight, but it's not the full featured menu. So I'll go back. When you present, if you do presenter mode, there are other tools that show up on the bottom. One of them is some of the pen features. I'm just leading you to there to say, if that's you, that that's a PowerPoint. Yes. Okay, so some of you are going to play with this tonight when you should be doing other work. But anyways, you get the idea.
How did you get the other options to show up?
How did I do this? I just clicked play my slide.
Right.
And then
I
on,
thought you said there were some other options.
and I'm doing it from presenter mode.
I see.
Presenter
I think
view?
I see something now.
Okay. Like I said, I want to get to a couple things, and I want it to, when you're done, it can decide, do you want to keep the different annotations and other things that you have. The same thing works in Excel. I'm not going to go as long with it because I think this is a much smaller audience, but I think you should at least see it. You don't have as many side features in Microsoft Excel, but the same pen will show up, the same highlighter, the same eraser. If one of those people that present budgets or present other things and you want to highlight things, walking around the room, you can still highlight different parts. Maybe you have a graph, highlight, you get the idea. Okay. I wasn't expecting to go 15 minutes on Microsoft, and that wasn't necessarily the reason you signed up. But I think for some of you, that's fairly cool. Once again, if you wanted to go peer-to-peer and they ink on it, they have to have the newest, one of the two newest versions of Office. If you have students that have a Chromebook, they're not going to do it. They have to have a PDF. If you're doing Word to Google Doc, I'm going to guess it doesn't always show up pretty. So you have to decide who does this benefit the best. But I think this is a good time of the summer to think about, I could do this differently if I want to. I might ponder that history lesson on blah, blah, blah differently than I was before. I want to show you Edge. I know that most of you probably left, I shouldn't say most of you, some of you left using it and not really knowing if that's what you're going to use. Some of you put Chrome on your computer already. I'm going to give you my opinion on the only reason I would use Edge. The only reason I would use Edge is if I open this up, I have the ability to write on the internet. I do not, I'll repeat, I don't like that it doesn't have the extensions that I like. But when you open up Edge, my screen isn't shown. What I like on Edge, and I'll just talk and I'm going to hook it up while I talk. If you opened up Edge, on the upper right-hand corner, there's a pencil with a box that's dotted around it, and it says Make a Web Note. And then it opens up this toolbar that has markers, erasers, highlighters, cutting and paste, and other things like that. Play around with it. So maybe take your kids to, your students to different websites.
You have to be logged on or something?
You can't do that?
Are you logged on?
Okay.
Maybe that's.
In order to do that, I'm guessing you. I can't do two things at once. Hey, in order to do that, you have to have a Microsoft account. So right now, I have a Microsoft account because I wanted to open up some of the features. I'll demo it, and maybe that makes you want to create. It doesn't have to be a Microsoft account. I happen to have a Hotmail one that I've had since college that me and my wife share. We just throw junk in there, and I have it connected to this. You can make your MLC account be a dummy Microsoft account, and it would still work. I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about then, if you can't do this. You get the idea of highlighting. You have a limited number of colors. I should just. You have the ability to highlight different things on the page. The ability to erase is no different. You can also take and annotate something onto a spot. And then when you're done with it, you can either, this next one is you can snip a part of the screen that you want, or you can take the whole page. When I go back to where I just was, what you should understand is that when I save it, it goes to one of 3 places that are basically all Microsoft. So if I take it to OneNote, it's going to create a note in OneNote that I can save as a PDF or do other things with it. I can save it to my favorites in Edge, or I can save it to a reading list of something I want to just read later. Now I'm going to go back. I'm not going to talk about this a ton, but if you're one of those that you spend a lot of time snipping a part of a website, drawing notes into it, it takes you an hour to get things that you want, this hypothetically should work real well. When I click on Save to OneNote, my OneNote account will have each of these pages saved individually. Now, I am not a OneNote power user. If you want more with it, I think Jim Rachi's talking at 3 about that. But you can take any of these, save them the way that you want. You can go back and use them, send them through this. Most of your questions for OneNote, I don't know the answer to. But I wanted you to see that you can save them like you like. You can write on the internet. If that's good to you, then I think Edge is a good browser. The reason why some people really love it, if I want to speak highly about Edge, is technically it's a more secure browser. Technically. I've never had an issue with a virus or something else on Google Chrome, so get the idea. Hey. Yes.
That snip copies it to your,
Copies it, I believe, to OneNote.
but you can dump it into email
You
or
could.
Word or anything.
Yes.
So it's your last copied thing
Yes.
on your desktop.
I don't know that for sure.
But that's how it actively.
Okay. So Greg just said you could snip it. It creates a copy for temporary that you could paste somewhere else, whether it's in a document or in an email. Thanks, Greg. So I think that's, it might be worth not deleting it off your computer. Okay. Smart Notebook. I just want to see the lay of the land. How many of you use it routinely in your room? Okay, so I'm not speaking to many of you, so I won't go very long with it. You have to decide whether or not it's better or worse for you than other options. So for example, I like Smart Notebook because if I'm at my screen, I can write on it, save it, you get the idea. I don't love Smart Notebook when I'm walking around like this because it's hard for me to keep it small and it's hard for me to always be neat. I'm neater on the board. Dr. Wendler taught me handwriting well, I don't know, than I am if I'm doing things on here. You have to decide what method works best for you. If you haven't migrated to Smart Notebook, you just have to decide why would you do it, and is your audience one that you need to model some of it to? Because the reason I still have it in, or we still have it in Teaching with Technology is whether you love it or you don't, a lot of my math teachers I'm preparing are going to a classroom that have it. So, anything you want me to demo or show, Scott?
Where would you prefer that we download Smart Notebook from the link on
The earlier presentation, and you have to go to the free 11.4.
Okay.
The other thing to be careful about is,
through
Bo-
MLC's?
I wouldn't.
I find it online here. And
Yeah, I wouldn't even use MLC's code. It does.
Apparently you don't need codes anymore. It's not-
Yep. Right. And then both Jim and I discovered that if you have it on your computer, Smart Ink takes up a lot of the memory and a lot of other things with it, so I just turn that off so it's not running. But most of you give me the look like I don't need this 2 minutes, so I'm going to keep going. Right. I wanted you to be able to annotate PDFs. That was one of the reasons you came here. I'm just putting a couple things up here before I talk about it. I think you should think about why. So for me, I get journal article after journal article right now at my stage of my life where it's a nice way to write directly on it. It gives you the ability to highlight sentences pretty easily. I'll talk about a few of the other things with it, but you need to make a decision that I heard somebody like Keith Wessel ask, and that was, is it worth putting everything into Word so I can write on Word, or is it worth putting everything as PDF so I can write on PDFs? Is it worth doing, like, pick what works for you and stick to it. But I want to demo the tool that most of you haven't played around with as much as I have. Some of you maybe are more intuitive, it's more intuitive than I might expect. But I'd like you to open up Drawboard. For me, I pinned it to my taskbar on the bottom. Once again, I would just start typing in DR and you'll have the program. Hey, your screen is probably pretty blank, right?
It brings to a welcome. Let's get started.
Hey, you should decide. I would probably take it and, at very least, I should say very least, I would give it your author name, your MLC email, because basically, if you're going to change a PDF, it's going to throw you as the author onto that document. If you want to get ahead and just try things, yes, the plus symbol means add a document and kind of go from there. I've got some awesome power users that can explain or go through things faster than others. Right, when you get through that portion of it, your screen looks like mine, except it doesn't have documents already there. Now, just like many programs, it's going to guess what you want. You need a PDF for you to be able to write on. So you can either go into your WinData drive and find a PDF. You can go to the email that I sent you and download that document and then put it up there from your downloads. But I do want you to have some sort of a PDF that's on there. I just picked the very latest Issues in Education's article that comes out every half a month. This one happened to be about the impact of ECE on Lutheran elementary schools enrollment. But once again, find a PDF and open it. And if you're not sure, just open your email. I sent you one yesterday. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go through and explain things a couple different times in a couple different ways. What you really need to know about this program is that it's designed for your pen. It isn't that I think that writing on PDFs is intuitively a great idea, but the whole thick, thin eraser, highlighters, and all of that works really well with this program that's on your computer. On the left-hand side, you may have nothing there, or you may have a toolbar that looks like this. If it disappears, you just click on what I would call the hamburger or hot dog menu, and it'll reappear. The symbol for this program is this hexagon that you can open and close different things with it. When you have a PDF open, you should know what each of those things mean. I think most of you could figure it out by clicking on it. The top one is just saying you want to see all the different documents you have. So I'm just going to put another one there as well. So if I had two documents, it's going to show them individually like that. By clicking on the next one, it's going to take the PDF and paginate it so that you could go through from the first page to the 8th page. So when I'm sitting in class and they say, yeah, I'd like you to go to the 7th page, scrolling through digital documents is not a skill that I've mastered. There's still things I like about paper copies. There's nothing wrong with that. The third thing on the left is I have no idea what that picture is trying to show. So until I played around with every button to just figure it out. This is where I think you need to make some smart choices. When you write on your PDF, if you don't do a save as, it's going to change your PDF. Now, for me, that's great. Teacher gives me something I need to read, I write on it, my notes are right there. I don't need 2 documents. However, you think like a teacher, if this is a master document and you're writing on it in class or whatever you're doing with it, you have to decide, do you want your master copy to get tarnished or changed with notes on there? All these things in here I think make a lot of sense, other than you should know that annotations are the things you're writing. Show annotations shows the things you're writing. Flatten means you're actually sticking it to the document and it's unreversible. Clear is get rid of them all. I don't know what XFDF and those things mean. I'm assuming it's another way to take a PDF and do something with it. Rotate, delete. I think everything else about this is pretty self-explanatory. On the right side of your screen is this hexagon that seems like it's nothing, but it's really, really important. The hexagon opens up all of the tools that you can use. Now, for me, I first of all just kind of played around with different things. So, for example, I went to eraser. It's designed that if you click on the arrow above the eraser, it's going to ask you how thick is your eraser from a size 1 to a size 20. If you want to go back, you just click on the back arrow that's in the middle. If I'm clicking on a highlighter, you can have, do you want highlights, do you want strikeouts, do you want remove, do you want whatever. If you want to go back, just click on the middle arrow. What I'm basically doing is I picked the tools that I want. So I'm just going to demo, like let's say I want a blue pen that's this blue. If I want to always, this blue, if I want to add it and use it often, you just click on the plus symbol that's at the bottom right part of your screen, and it's going to throw it into your most commonly used items. So you can throw a bunch of erasers, a bunch of markers, a bunch of highlighters, whatever tools you think you're going to use there. Once you have those tools the way that you want them, you can highlight away. I just want to demo a couple things. Just look at my screen for 30 seconds or less. So you can highlight text. So I picked this, it's in the swirl wheel thing. I like the ability that I don't have to highlight things really carefully. I can just highlight all the text that's there. However, I can also make it so that I have a thick or a thin highlighter, or a thick or a thin pen. The harder I push down. So the harder I push down, the thicker it's going to be. The lighter I push down, the thinner it's going to be. Everything that I did, I put undo up here that I can undo it, or I can use an eraser, which I guess I don't have out here right now. That I want to have an eraser that I'm highlighting, and anything that I have here I can erase that I wrote on that document. So I'm going to back away, and now I want you to play to the point where you have some questions. So.
Does the pen click only work with programs?
Yes.
Not commands?
It can be commands.
Like undo?
Yes. But you have to, it's basically a code thing. And there are people that have wrote the code to turn it into a spacebar, that have turned it into a, yes, you can make it be a button. It's a little more advanced.
How do you remove a tool on the right?
Good question. If you want to remove a tool on the right, you just click on the tool you don't want, and the trash button on the bottom right is actually just trashing the tool, not trashing the document. You can, the other things that are pretty neat about this tool are you can read it however you would like. So you do have the ability to make it big or make it small, pan it in, pan it out. Jeff? Click on the erase. You don't have multiple erase? What's
See these arrows above the others. So as I highlight an eraser, it's not.
I have a better eraser than you do. I have no idea. Do other people have erasers? No.
Yeah, he's got the arrow above his.
I don't know.
And this one.
I've got you. You got it,
Right. Can you try a different one?
Yeah.
You've tried a couple different kinds?
Yeah.
Let's just shut it down and open it up
Yeah,
again.
I've
You
tried
tried that
that.
already? That's probably a network services question, sorry. Hey. The other features that you should be aware of with it, once again, is you're doing different things to your document. When you're ready to save it, you do have a couple options on the left that I didn't talk about. When you've written on the document, the button that has the disk with the asterisk next to it is save it in the current state. Now remember, when you click save, you're changing the master document to whatever it is right now. Although you can clear the annotations out and you could resave it. I'll say what I said slower. So when I save that document, I've now saved it with the first paragraph highlighted. If I don't want those, I can always clear the annotations. Like, for example, you do something and say, oh, I forgot to do a save as. Just clear it out, do a save as, and then write on the new copy. What about this tools? So Jeff, anybody else not have different erasers? Okay, and then Paul couldn't open anything.
And Larry's highlighting isn't working. The highlighting. It's working like a second pen on mine, so highlighting.
So what you're doing, you're picking this highlight thing on the, and do you have the ability to pick different things with it? You can't do what I'm doing here?
Mine's working just like yours.
Oh, I know what Larry's issue is. So you have to remember a little bit more about PDFs. Some PDFs, it's very, very easy to see where text is. Other of them, it's a slightly turned version of a picture. Like, for example, when we get those documents from Jeff's secretary, Deb Plath, from the Chronicles, copied from whatever, not all of them you'd have the ability to highlight with the highlight text. If I took this article right out of a journal and I downloaded it as a journal, everything is paginated, everything is highlighted the right way. The only option for something like what Larry is talking about is you can highlight using the highlight pen, but you're going to have to be accurate that way. So then I would pick a highlighter that's thick and just go from there. So that just has to go with the old debate of can you OCR this text and get it or not, if that makes sense. Anything else about this tool that you want to say? Go ahead.
Does it work to rename it when you save it as a new PDF? So you can keep your old original
Yes.
document and then call it
Yes.
updated
Yes.
today's date?
Yes.
So then you have your old and
Yes.
your
Yep.
new, and get around it that way.
Yep. By default, it's going to save it in the folder that it's originally in if you don't do a save as and tell it to go somewhere else. So it's one of the few tools I've ever used where you change a PDF and it stays that name in the original folder without messing things around unless you tell it to go somewhere else. The last thing I want to talk about, and then this 50 minutes is done, is now you have to make decisions. So if it's a teaching decision, it might be different than just your own personal research or your own personal looking things up. But you have to make a decision about, is the world of Microsoft what I want? Is the world of PDF annotation what I want? Is the world of Smart Notebook what I want? You get the idea with it. Because to me, that's the debate that's going on in my head before August, whatever it might be. Now, the reason I wanted you to see all of these tools is now you have a variety of ways to use your device like a tablet with the pen or the keyboard. Some of you might think that I'm going to have no problem teaching like this at all times, but you type more than you think. Or I'm going to have my keyboard as I teach, so I can't do this, but when you live in this environment, the number of times you really have to type is very minimal. Like, for example, I bring this to my class like this. If I wanted to put an annotated text somewhere that's in there, I can at any time pull up various things, keyboard or whatever it might be, so that I can type directly onto whatever it is I'm looking for, if I had a place to click on my screen. Here's the moment of truth. How many of you are sticking around a little bit longer? How many of you, if you want to leave, I'm not offended, just leave, but I'm going to wait about 5 more minutes before I show and have you practice teaching with wireless things with it, just to let a couple people that I know that were coming to the second part come, and those of you that want to leave, but I'm just going to kind of stop my recording and then move into part 2 in about 5 minutes. So catch up on other things.